some of our societies get access to electricity through gas. Some of others are getting it through solar energy, wind, and in other places, thanks to AFDB, in other places we are pushed to use submarine cables to make sure that those people who are living in the island get power, affordable power. And next year we're having a big project to make sure that Zanzibar, one of our tourist city area, is getting affordable and quality electricity through submarine cables, which will cost more than $282 million. That's the project which is upcoming next year. Dear distinguished guests, energy security is not achievable in isolation. Tanzania is strongly committed to advancing regional power generation through the East African and Southern African power pools, and eventually in achieving the continent-wide grid interconnection. This commitment presents a significant opportunity to maximize the potential of our energy resources and to foster the more interconnection and resilient energy network across Africa. And that being the case, we are working in collaboration with our neighboring countries, which includes but not limited to Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, DRC, Kenya, and Uganda. In conclusion, I urge us all to continue working hand in hand, leveraging our shared knowledge and resources to drive progress in our energy initiatives. Let us seize this moment to reaffirm our dedication to creating a world where energy is not only abundant and affordable, but also sustainable and inclusive. By doing so, we can ensure that the benefits of our efforts extends to every corner of the globe, fostering a brighter, more connected and sustainable energy future for all. A brighter, more connected and sustainable energy future for all. I thank you all for your attention. Looking forward to participating in the insightful discussion. I wish our host Zimbabwe a successful and productive 2026 SADC Sustainable Energy Week. Thank you very much.
Asante sana. I hope that's correct. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of the United Republic of Tanzania, for her presentation, and we are moving on. We still have 3 more presenters, and I'm looking at the watch. I'm sure the last 2 gentlemen will be super efficient, smiling and nodding pleasantly, not violently. So I'm inviting you to the podium to talk to us about the fact that Zambia has taken a pioneering step in establishing an independent transmission system operator. How has this institutional reform strengthened system reliability and investor confidence? And what policy lessons could other countries in SADC learn? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Due to time that I've been given, let me ride on the protocols already observed. Indeed, quickly, I would tell you that prior to 2021, as a country, we were coming from single buyer model, whereby our public utility company, ZESCO, was the only off-taker, was the only utility company could generate, transmit, and distribute. So immediately we realized that we have to address the issues of monopoly so that we can promote transparency, competition, and even quality. So as a country, we introduced open access policy that has attracted private sector investment in the energy sector. And this is slowly yielding results. Where there is competition, you expect quality service. Today, as a country, Zambia, we are now celebrating because of private sector investment. And you may wish to note that in Zambia, out of 3.9 gigawatts of installed power, 85% was hydro. But when we were hit by drought, 2023-2024, it gave us an opportunity to start thinking other alternative sources of energy. This is where now public and private came together because of the open access, starting now addressing these challenges that we have been facing. And today we are saying that there is a graph that is going up in terms of energy security in the country. Despite the fact that we have been facing challenges in terms of financing. Financing is one of the issues that we believe going forward we'll be able to be sharing with our neighbors, those who have gone through the same, to see what kind of models that we can bring on board to make sure that our financial close move at a speed. Remember, today, as the Vice President was opening our session officially, there's one word he left with us, call to action. There's a lot that we have discussed and identified as theories. That call to action tells us now we need to move and implement. Time is not with us. I remember when we attended the same function of Energy Week in Botswana, I did say we are tired of just discussing. The region, Africa, must now implement because we have already known the challenges that we are facing as region. We know. So even to our cooperating partners, what we are looking forward is to make sure that we start expediting processes. There's too much long processes. Here's a project, MOUs have been signed, several MOUs have heard being signed. But what are we doing as a region? So to us, we feel that this is the time we started to agree as a bloc, to understand what models of finance we should adopt, all of us. And also, our regulatory bodies. We are told that there is an association of the regulatory bodies. You need to move ahead of us. You need to move ahead of the plans so that we are able to walk the talk. Or else we'll be keeping meeting in Harare, meeting in Victoria Falls, meeting in, in Eswatini. That's not Eswatini. Yes. Thank you very much, Honorable Moyo. So, colleagues, to me, as a policymaker, I would love that these conferences that we keep on holding must start yielding results. Because Africa is getting down when we have got potential of all the resources. It's a time that we're supposed to stand up, all of us, as a region, as Africa, to start utilizing these resources with time given to ourselves. So in Zambia, we have created an environment to encourage, to motivate private sector through bringing in incentives in place. As we were struggling with the drought, load shedding was 1 hour, 2 hours supply of power. It was terrible. I was busy fighting with my friend here, my senior brother, Honorable Moyo, on certain issues to see how we can survive because the economy was going down. Look, what is that we need to do? As a country, we said, to attract investment, all the equipment that are meant for solar power plants were coming in the country without any tax. That was one way to encourage our private sector to come and invest in the energy subsector. Also, one issue that I feel Oh, brothers and sisters, in the policy decision positions, we need to pay attention. Energy issues cannot be sorted out by an individual state, no. I have realized that we need to work as a team. The time we're going through these challenges, I can tell you, I don't know how many times I came to my brother to sit down, but constraint of our interconnectors, the capacity to transmit where we have got power in the region and take it where it is needed, it has been a challenge, and it still remains the challenge. But what are we doing so that we can move? We need to have interconnectors to all our neighboring countries. All those MOU we have signed, we are not now interested in those MOU. We need now to implement them and move with the time so that our economic growth that we have committed ourselves are achieved, other than stories after stories until we are moved out. I'm told that I need to conclude. As I conclude, we need to harmonize our rules, regional and national must speak to each other to achieve our bigger picture. Thank you very much.
Well said, Honorable Minister. Your 7 I's: implement, 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 implement. And that's all we need to remember. Thank you very much. Let me ask my brother, Dr. Kevin Kariuki, Vice President. I know you have already made the presentation earlier, but I think this session has given us a lot of pointers, and there's our Apex Bank. You have already also mentioned where you are giving the SADC region support, but just come and wrap up in terms of, I know you are being referred to, even the Honorable Minister of Botswana and others. They wanted you to confirm that you indeed, you have put your mouth where your money is. And please talk to us about regional energy integration, national energy compacts, alignment, and leveraging private capital. But don't forget about gender and youth inclusion. You have 30 seconds. I know you can do it. A round of applause as he comes with.
I know I'm an engineer, but even 30 seconds will be difficult. But let me start, first of all, with the issue of regional integration. I think, first of all I would like to say is that, and again, all protocols observed, of course, Honorable Minister Moyo, we are in your home, and we feel very, very welcome. Asante sana. So on regional integration, part of our core mandate as a bank is what we call regional integration. And we have what is called a regional integration strategic plan. And this is the context under which we have developed transportation projects. There are countries here that are aware of our transportation projects, regional transportation projects. And we also have even the Lobito corridor will fall under that. But we're also looking at a lot of power interconnection projects. And this is the context in which I refer to a number of interconnection projects that we are already undertaking I mentioned in the morning, including the interconnection in Malawi that will in Mozambique that will facilitate the export. I talked about ANA, Angola and Namibia. I spoke about Mpanda and Kua for export, but I also spoke about support to the South African Power Pool, as well as support to RERA, the Regional Electricity Regulatory Authority. But more specifically, because this has been raised here by my sister Bokolo, Minister Bokolo, to confirm that this is a project that has been on our radar for a long time, and I do believe that this can be attested by Minister Ramakopa. So I'm really happy to hear that the discussions have advanced that much. So it's a project that we'll be happy to support. And for my friend from Zambia, just to say that we financed the studies for Solwezi Kolwezi, and we've been looking at seeing how we can be able to progress that. And this is also the reason why, we believe in regional integration, and that's why we supported some of you may have heard what is called the Continental Power Master Plan, which will be the software for the regional interconnection that we are going to have all over the country, all over the continent, towards the establishment of the Africa single electricity market. So let me stop there on regional integration. I can go on and on. On energy compacts, first of all, I want to say, for all those who may not know, energy compacts are actually owned by the countries. We do not impose energy compacts. But although I'm sure all here, Namibia would confirm that these are actually compacts or they demonstrate the aspirations of a country, what needs to be done in order to achieve the electricity access that the country commits to. What we do as the World Bank and AFDB is to try and help them flesh out these energy compacts consistent with the 5 pillars I alluded to in the morning, which underpin the Dar es Salaam Declaration that was so aptly mentioned by my sister there. And just to mention that this declaration that was made in Dar es Salaam has since been adopted by the AU, and and as a result, it has continental effect as we speak. Today we have 30 energy compacts, and we expect to have 40 energy compacts by June. But so what does this mean? In order to be able to effectuate these energy compacts, we've also worked with the countries to ensure that we have compact monitoring and delivery units. A lot of the countries that have energy compacts are establishing this, and they are placed highly enough within the government in order to ensure that this energy compact, the teams that are overseeing this process have the gravitas to follow up on some of the key things that are required. For example, reforms. We all know that reforms are not very easy and they are difficult, but they are need. I always say reforms are like medicine. Medicine is never sweet, but once you take the medicine, you get cured. Just to say very quickly that analysis of the energy compacts that exist, and this will not be shocking to a lot of you, show that we will require $238 billion in order to meet the demands of those energy compacts. I'll repeat that number, 238 billion. But of which 50% will come from the private sector. This is not AFDB has said. This is not what the World Bank has said. This is what you, as governments, have said. So let's put it this way, into context. 50% of 238 is almost $120 billion. It's a lot of money for the private sector. And what I would say is that in order to be able to attract investments at the scale and the speed that we require to meet Mission 300, it is important that an enabling environment is established. And hence, the fourth pillar of Mission 300 focuses on enhancing private sector participation. And therefore, reforms are key to ensure regulatory credibility and certainty, as well as cost-reflective tariffs for sustainable sectors and off-takers. And based on such enabling environment, capital will flow. And I always try to say this, and I'll beg if some of you have heard this. For a lot of us here, some of us are engineers, and we were taught by something called Ohm's law. And for those who may remember Ohm's law, we were told that current follows the path of least resistance. And I'll offer that capital also follows the path of least resistance. If you make and create enabling environments that are the enabling environments in your country, capital will flow. And that's why what I wanted to dovetail here is to say that with the right environment, we can further de-risk projects to crowd in the private sector. Minister Ramakopa in the morning spoke, or this afternoon, spoke about the credit guarantee vehicle that South Africa is establishing to be able to attract, with the help of the World Bank and IFC. You forgot that we are part of it, but I'll not take it to you. It's an important facility because it will help address South Africa's challenge of transmission. You heard the minister say that they need $25 billion for transmission projects. They cannot do this on their own. They need to be able to create innovative solution that will enable the private sector to participate in that. So also we have a facility, what we call the Sustainable Energy Fund for Africa, which is hosted within the bank. It's a $630 million facility that we also use to de-risk projects and make sure that projects become sort of bankable. There's also other tools. I would just mention quickly. There's the Alliance for Green Infrastructure in Africa, which is we established recently. And we have Zafiri. And I want to mention Zafiri because it is part of Mission 300. One of the things that we discovered amongst Mission 300 is that whereas we expect that we will be able to reach 300 million people by 2030, 50% of those connections will have to come from distributed renewable energy. But this is private sector, and unfortunately, the equity for startups, for DRE projects is not there. And that's why the IFC and ourselves and other partners created Zafiri. We started with a first close of 300 million with a view to supporting what we call providing early equity to projects that can be able to extend DRE. So I'll wish to stop here. I'll talk about gender and other things later on. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Thank you very much for summarizing. I know it was a long topic, but I'm happy that you have actually answered some of the questions that came up during this session and other sessions before now. I will ask honorable ministers, dear delegates, to give another round of applause to this panel as they take their seats. And a big round of applause again. As they do so, those who know the alphabet would realize that I stopped at Zambia, and that was deliberate.
Sorry, moderator, there is a special request to have a picture of the entire panel discussion.
We have not even exhausted the panel, and that's the point I'm coming to. The picture will be taken. Thank you very much for the reminder. I was saying the member states' alphabet does not stop at Zambia. It stops at Z, which is Zimbabwe. And there was a reason for that. I wanted my boss, my honorable minister, to be the one to be blamed for standing between your visit to the falls and not the moderator. So, Honorable July Moyo, please come and make your presentation on Zimbabwe. And we are asking you, please, to talk on three issues: policy reform and private sector participation, scaling renewable energy and ensuring system reliability, and lastly, financing the transition and strengthening utilities. Honorable Minister.
Thank you. The topics are too long, and I don't want to be blamed for letting down my sister, Dr. Evelyn Ndlovu, who is going to be our host as we go to the rainforest. But suffice to say, each country is giving something to learn about. If there's something that you can learn about in terms of Zimbabwe, is when you have pressures on your financial system, and you have pressures on your food systems, and lastly, you have pressures on your energy systems, because we have been under attack throughout those three. But our president has had to be very crafty by creating a superstructure that can be superintended to ensure that we overcome these challenges. That's why the man who is moderating is not just an engineer. He is the Deputy Chief Secretary responsible for all infrastructure, big infrastructure projects, whether it's in mining or is in water, it is in women's affairs, all across. That is his job in order to coordinate. Sometime working with the Vice President who opened your conference today in the economic field, sometime with another Vice President who is coordinating us in the social field, but all the time reporting directly every week to the President and the senior leadership of our country. That's how we have overcome some of the challenges that we have. But in the energy sector, we used to have long lines for petroleum products. This, the President has eliminated, and those who live in Zimbabwe know that. We have challenges in the electricity sector, and I'm sure my colleagues who have been talking to you know that for the first time in a long time, we have gone over 50 days without load shedding. We left it to our Zambian friends to do so. But I don't want to announce this because the chief executive of ZESA should be the one to announce, and if things go wrong, it's him, not me. My colleagues have talked to you in almost all the sessions. The creation of generation as a separate entity, transmission and distribution as a separate entity has allowed us to bring the private sector. And I'm sure you have been listening to what the IPPs have been telling you, the independent power producers who put their items, their products in the national grid. You also have been talking to captive power. It has become a major contributor to our generation. Captive power just means you are a big operator of a company. Why don't you make sure that also, given the resources that we have in the country, coal, wind, solar, gas, why don't you generate your own electricity so that you can power with certainty, with sometimes cost reduction that is not coming from the power utility. So there are many of them, and they've been giving a lot of examples. There are people with coal bed methane gas. There are people who are using waste to energy in order to provide energy, not just for ourselves, but also for companies that are doing their work. We have looked at our grid. Zimbabwe is both a possibility for making sure that Southern African region is integrated, but it has constraints. Over years of non-investment in our transmission systems has meant that energy losses in our transmission systems are needing some investment. And new lines of transmission are needed, and we opened up that the private sector can also invest in the transmissions together with our power utility that is ZESA. So we have opened this. We are now working also with the World Bank and ADB as part of our Mission 300 to make sure that our procurement system for the private sector to participate in renewable energy is streamlined so that we introduce transparency and sustainability. And this we have done, and our regulator, some of you have seen the compact out there. There are so many solar systems, other captive power systems that you can actually glean in, and the grid impact assessment has already been done. The environmental impact assessment has been done. The land has been identified. The license is there, so you can walk in and you de-risk because all these things have already been done. We have hundreds of them that have been identified like that. So in terms of also just the incentives, we sign with anybody who is investing with us a government project support agreement that is signed by the Minister of Finance and myself, and is also given support by the Reserve Bank. This allows you to obviously amortize whatever loans you would have got as an independent power producer or as a captive power producer. It allows you also to make sure that your dividends can go out of the country. This we have done in terms of de-risking, but also when we sign this, we give you a lot of incentives, tax rebates, duty-free, certainly on solar, there is duty-free that is allowed. In terms of coverage, it's a problem. It's a problem for not just for us in Zimbabwe, but I know for all of Southern Africa. And we are at 62% coverage, although in the urban areas we are above 80%. But there are so many conurbations that are dark cities, and we have allowed not just distribution by our utility, but there are so many people here from Zimbabwe who are looking forward to doing business to distribute the last mile in the urban areas, because we have almost close to 600,000 households in the urban areas that are not connected, and yet the power lines are thus at the doorstep. But we are failing to have capital for the utility to reach the last mile, and we are asking the private sector to work with the power utility. In terms of generation, renewable, Zimbabwe, if you saw the map that SADC put of the southern part of our region is mostly thermal, and the northern part is hydro. But Zimbabwe, we sit in where both hydro and thermal are competing. We are almost in the center. And if you look at the power mix between hydro and thermal, before we bring in the renewables, we are almost half and half. And yes, we are hit by the climate change together with Zambia. But we have tried to mitigate it by having floating solar. In Kariba, we have signed in, and they will be having a private sector company is going to put 600 megawatts of floating solar. And although both the Zambezi River Authority, which is Zambia, and ourselves are saying, with the assistance of Afro-Exim Bank, let's look at the floating solar system in the whole of Kariba system, Kariba Dam system. But in Zimbabwe, we have said, we are allowed by ZRA to have an independent person or company doing solar. So we are putting 600 megawatts. So I can go on and go on. Financing is a problem. And I've said in the last years, Zimbabwe, if you want to study how a president and his government and the people in the private sector can overcome financing constraints from outside and use domestic capital markets in order to move forward, please come and have sessions with our governor, with our Minister of Finance. But your best lessons are from people who are in here who have been investing without outside assistance, but for which, given the throwing up of what is happening, you can assist them so that they can grow. These are the private sector systems. The banks are involved in it. The pension funds are involved in it. The insurance companies, some of whom have sponsored us, like Old Mutual, they are in it and they are investing in renewable. So when we look at our IPPs, those who are doing solar have become more. There are companies that are doing IPPs. One of them was giving information. So he has not said I should stop, but I'm stopping. Finally, the utility. Our utility he has been like all utilities, vertically integrated, although in our case, I think we were pioneers. We were pioneers, we separated our transmission from our generation, from our distribution long time ago. And this has given those who are putting independent power production in the as private sector, they have been given a chance. But we are deepening our reforms. We are deepening our reforms because our distributed power systems are spearheaded by our rural electrification agents. For everybody who uses power in Zimbabwe, 6% must go to our rural electrification fund so that we can target the rural areas. And this year, we are going to make sure that all our primary schools, and we are at 71% of all our primary schools in terms of electrification. We are going to make sure that all our secondary schools, and we are at 84%, will be electrified. We are going to make sure that all our clinics, which we are at 94%, are going to be electrified. Because COVID taught us one thing, that we leave these people behind in education, they will not be able to catch up, particularly when we are talking about the ICT and the digital economy that we have entered in. So we have been helped by UNDP in some cases, we have been helped by other philanthropists, and we hope that we can attract more financing. But ultimately, our parliamentarians, when we had our budget workshop in Bulawayo, they made sure that the Minister of Finance understood that this rural electrification will be funded from the fiscus, yes, with support from the money that is coming from those who pay. So every Zimbabwean, we as electricity, is already contributing to our rural electrification. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable Minister. I won't allow you to sit. I'm actually inviting your colleagues to come for a photo shoot. As we conclude, please, all the presenters, please come to the front for a photo session with everybody else. Presenters, please come forward. As they do so, this actually marks the end of this session. And as your moderator, I will summarize the key takeaways from this session and share them with the session leads for consolidation into the overall event outcome statement. Please, round of applause to yourselves and to the presenters, and thank you very much for your active participation. That concludes our session. Thank you very much. After this photo session, I think the presenters, can you please come on top? I'm being asked by the photographers that you actually come on top. Please, please, can you use the steps? We don't want to break you to break your legs. Yes, yes. Honorable, you're prepared to come and say a few words in terms of the tour after the photo shoot. Now we are going back again.
Masandango we